It is the football kickback NFL divisional round version of the football kickback. I am your host, the Sam D. If you're following along on the Elon app, salute. Let me know if it's working. If you're here on YouTube, you should already know what the deal is. This is what I do here. I recap all the action from the past weekend's games, and we have quite a lot to get into tonight, as there was a bunch of NFL action. Clearly, the Final Four has been decided, and it is probably the Final Four that we were all thinking about. Sans one team. There was one team that had a lot of hype, a lot of bluster, a lot of fanfare, and they got taken out at the crib. You know who I'm talking about. We will get there. But to set the scene here, let's go ahead and bring in. We have a little bracket here. And if you're new here on the Elon app, what I do here is I recap all the actions games. I bring up screen shares. I tap into everything that I can to kind of show you what I'm looking at as I'm talking about it. So it's not just a audio experience as you're used to me on the DCMD podcast, but it is a visual experience here on the football kickback. Let me see if I can bring this screen up here, make sure we got everything nice and tidy. Let's see, do we have this here? Do we have this ready? Okay, boom. So setting the scene here, this is where we stand as of today. We have the AFC Championship game is set. We have the Chiefs and the Bengals. No need for a neutral site game. They'll be at Arrowhead. How Patrick Mahomes will look with the high ankle sprain. We know how that is notorious. We shall see. Over in the NFC, we have the Eagles, who, your boy may or may not have put a bet on back in August for them to make the Super Bowl, not to win, but to make it, because I always felt they were the class of the NFC. Here they are as the number one seed, and they will be take on Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, C-Mac, Debo, Ayuk, Bosa, Warner, and a whole bunch of dudes, the talented roster that is the San Francisco 49ers. That will be happening in Philly at the Link, as you see here, according to Yahoo. Little money line sprinkle, if you want, for the San Francisco 49ers, as they are the underdog. But the team that the San Francisco 49ers beat to get to the NFC Championship game is the team of my guest. He seems to be ready. We'll make sure he's ready. We'll pull him up here in a second. But he is a Dallas Cowboys fan. He used to be an Uber fan, or over the top, one of those shill-like fans, but he has since come back down to reality. He's a little bit more even-keeled at times. But we will get to him in a second. It will be Corey at Corey B Flying, at Corey B _ Flying on the Elon app from the Not That Serious podcast. He'll be joining me shortly, chopping up at these games, chopping up these fables, as there were a lot of truths that were finally realized. And one of those is that the Buffalo Bills were not who y'all thought they were. More importantly, Josh Allen is not who y'all think he is. We will definitely get into that. But the Chiefs are the main story here, because we don't know what Mahomes and that high ankle sprain are going to look like. What do you think? High ankle sprain? You worried that grass in Arrowhead isn't the best? Some people are even saying if this was a neutral site game, if this was the Bills and the Chiefs, that Mahomes might fare better on that type of turf with the high ankle sprain than the natural grass turf at Arrowhead. Is that a thing? Are we just drawing straws? Are we just making up narratives to get us to next week Sunday? I don't know, but that is a narrative that is floating out there. So there's a lot of questions here, but my guest seems to be ready. Let me just make sure we're doing this here on the fly, so bear with us for a second. Let me bring him in here. Boom, you have him there. Corey, can you hear me?
What's up?
What's good, bro?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Just want to make sure
Yeah.
there's no delay there and all of that. Corey B Flying of the Not That Serious podcast. Y'all know where to find them. They're doing numbers. They're doing great things. We always support them, support the brand, support the movement here. Bro, you are a Dallas Cowboys fan. So let's get this out the way. Let's get the elephant out the room. Was that Zeke's last play last night? Well, was that Zeke's last play as a Cowboy last night?
As a Cowboy, yeah. I mean, I've said this time and time again. You can't give a running back like 300 plus carries for like 4 or 5 years and expect him to still be, formidable. He's not even 30 yet, but in running back years, he's probably about 31, 32.
Right.
And if you saw last night, I think like over the last 6 games, he's averaged like 2.8 yards a carry. So he just hasn't been productive even, and you have to think he's been splitting carries. with Tony Pollard, and he's still not productive. So it's just like he has a high tag. The Cowboys will lose money. At best, we can hope to franchise tag Tony, or I've been hearing Tony's going straight to Chicago, so he'll be your boy then.
Good lord. The team of my youth, the Chicago Bears, who always find a way to trick it off. But go ahead.
But yeah, so I think Zeke is done in Dallas. He's been great in the locker room, but like the production just isn't there to match the tag, and it's just like every time you give him the ball, it's like you're just rolling your eyes because the most he's going to get is 2 yards, and then as you saw last night, he's completely irrelevant in the passing game if he's not blocking.
Right. Let's go ahead and bring up the screen here, and we can really chop this up. So you see here, 10 carries on 10 rushes on 26 yards for Zeke. 5 yards was his longest run. I mean, the running game overall, even though Pollard went out with a bum leg, it's not like he was killing it before that. So, do you think there was a domination at the line of scrimmage that the Cowboys weren't expecting by the 49ers, who obviously have one of the best, if not the best, defense in the league?
I mean, yeah, but you knew that going into the game. You're playing the best defense, and what you can't do is I think that uh, I don't believe that you have to run it. And I think there are things that you can do in the passing game to substitute a run, like throw a screen, quick pass game, RPO. And I said this on Twitter when when bully ball, and you'll agree with me, when bully ball meets finesse, you know who usually wins.
Right.
And I think you saw that with Dallas and Buffalo. They're both two teams that are not known for bullying. Their finesse. If you look at both teams' offensive line, there's no bullies up front. There's like the technique guys,
Right.
and and when you get into January, um, ultimately you usually always fail this way.
So I think that there's something there, right? Because like if we're looking at things and how they go, Dallas is always the perfect coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Because they have the talent, they have the fanfare, they have the owner, they have all this bluster every year, the America's team, all the nonsense that comes with just being the Dallas Cowboys. But year after year, they just always seem to come up short. One year was Daz caught it, but he didn't. It's been other failures. Romo with the snap in Seattle. It's always been something where it's held. I mean, we could look at Dak last year against this same 49ers team. So it's always been something with this franchise over the last 2 decades at minimum that has led them to be snake bitten. Jerry Jones clearly wants to run things. He wants to win a Super Bowl with the team in his image. He wants to have a puppet at head coach. He wants to be able to micromanage everything. So the rumors of Sean Payton, Mike McCarthy, who lied in his job interview to get the job, he lied to Jerry Jones about being up to speed on analytics. And if you know anything about this Cowboy franchise since McCarthy's been there is not a lot of analytical stuff being thrown in regards to how this offense or defense is being run. So, do you buy into anything in regards to could Sean Payton coexist with Jerry Jones? Is there any validity to the rumors of Sean Payton, who seems to be touring every team that doesn't have a coach? So, do you buy into Sean Payton in a sense, coming home to Dallas and maybe pulling up?
No, I mean he lives in Dallas, but no, I've been hearing that the Saints want a first round pick for him. But I think Jerry Jones is kind of satisfied with Mike McCarthy. He's kind of like a project manager. He doesn't call the plays. He doesn't do anything with the defense. And they even said if you ask him to call plays, he couldn't because he doesn't know, like, he's not really into the playbook like that. That's more so Kellen Moore's wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of like a project manager in that sense. And I firmly believe that that's exactly what Jerry wants.
For
Um,
sure.
and that's part of the reason why we're always going to lose to teams like San Francisco, teams like San Francisco that have Kyle Shanahan in the wheelhouse that like X's and O's. No there's probably no better offensive mind in the league right now than Kyle Shanahan. And giving Kyle Shanahan players like CMC, he literally, you could just see it yesterday. He was creating matchups to isolate CMC on Micah Parsons, and it just didn't fare well for us.
Were you surprised they didn't have Micah Parsons on the line more? Like I know they like to move him around and make sure he's versatile, and maybe they needed his speed to potentially match up with CMC. But as you said, he kind of got exposed in that matchup. Well, would you have preferred to see Parsons on the line more?
Did you see him on the line when he was there?
No, that's what I'm saying. I saw him in coverage way too much.
Saw him on the line versus Trent Williams, and I
And
actually
that's
have the
not who
stat.
you want him against, right? That's not who
Yeah,
you.
that's not who you want against. He had the one pressure that everybody's talking about. But
Your
if you,
camera's off.
sorry, hold on, give
Or
me one second.
yep,
You give me one. Uh, so Trent Williams had 15 passing blocks versus Micah and only allowed one pressure.
gotcha. Yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah,
yeah,
that
he's too good to not be on the line every down. Like he's the only play. Well, he's not the only, but he's certainly the most high profile playmaker you have on that D line next to Lawrence and all that. But I just
I
would have
mean,
preferred to see
you
him
know what
more.
the you saw what the problem is. I think we're just so weak up the middle at both defensive tackles, and then we have a linebacker who's not really known for stuffing his nose in the run. And when I watched like the first and second quarter, I was like, they're kind of giving it to us because they're just throwing the ball or they're running screen plays for Brock. I should have thought they should have went to the bully ball a little earlier, because if you notice in like that late in that third quarter, Sam, when they put together that long drive when CMC
Hmm.
scored, I'm like, you should have went to that earlier. That was always there.
Right.
And my thing is, if San Francisco waits to do that, they're going to lose to Philly because Philly's just not built like Dallas. They have the horses up front that they're not
Correct.
going to allow to bully them.
Correct. Yeah. I agree with you 100% there. I think with and I certainly don't want to make this all about the Cowboys, but there's so many storylines here. Dak has come out a lot of fire. He looked amazing against overrated Tampa Bay and maybe an old Tampa Bay defense. 5 touchdowns. Everyone's saying, okay, now we're going to get the type of Dak run that maybe they can go into Candlestick or the new Candlestick and beat the 49ers. Clearly spit the bit. Clearly did not look sharp, did not look fresh. I don't know. I'm not going to make any speculations, but he certainly didn't seem to be completely locked in like how he was against Tampa Bay. Did you see a market drop off, not just in just numbers, because that's clear, but did you see anything that stood out between Dak last week against Tampa versus yesterday against the 49ers?
Yeah, I didn't think that he ran. I didn't think that he extended enough plays with his legs. I think sometimes Dak gets into this mode where he wants to be like the statue quarterback. He just sits in the pocket, and that's just not really his game. I think one of the main differences is, not granted, uh, San Francisco's a lot more talented than Tampa Bay. I think that Dak kept the sticks moving with his legs, and I think that was able to keep the defense on the field longer, and we were able to get them tired at times, and we just never seemed to do that. And then like it was a lot of situations where we were forced to punt, where I was like, even the interception that Fred Warner had when he was throwing it to CD, I'm like, Dak, you had the lane, should have ran,
Right.
and it's just like just never get that. He just gets in that mode, and it's just like the thing that I hate about Kellen Moore's offense, it's a stick offense. Everything is to the
Hmm.
sticks. And it's
Yeah.
just like, I just feel like San Francisco was just sitting in cover two and taking whatever was given to them. And it was just like,
And everyone knows how to beat the cover two. Like there's no secret.
yeah, and it's just
Seam
like,
is there, post
and,
corners are there. It's all right there.
and it's just like, I just feel like our offense was just a stick offense. Everything was to the sticks. And if you look at like if you look at uh, both interceptions yesterday with the same thing. Curl route, CD, hook,
Hmm.
CD, and another hook to Gallup. It's just like they're just sitting at sticks. And it's just like you're throwing
Did
it to try.
Gallup quit on that route?
He did, but I don't even know how he's still on the roster, to be honest with you. He uh,
Yeah.
obviously Jerry Amari, because of he didn't want to get vaccinated and his availability. But then you sign the guy that's coming off ACL surgery and give him 45 million. It's just like,
Sick.
yeah,
Sick.
all right, yeah, I don't, and it's just like, yeah, I don't understand that. I don't
Yeah.
understand it. And it's just like we're kind of bogged down because we're so far past the Odell situation or when he was visiting, and it's just like I don't even know what you do at wide receiver right now.
Gotcha. So one last thing as we wrap up here, because I definitely don't want to make this all about the Cowboys, even though they are allegedly America's team. This tweet that somehow, someway is still up, bruh. Dak Prescott gave away the ball twice in the narrow loss of the 49ers. In the matchup, the Cowboys had a chance to win if they didn't again generate self-inflicted wounds. This is from the Cowboys' own official Elon app account. Is this damning? Like, to me, Jerry's obviously not thumbing out the tweet. However, we know how Jerry micromanages that organization or someone else in that organization. Maybe Steven, maybe another kid. I don't know. Someone with a Jones last name is definitely monitoring this account. What does this tweet mean to you? Is this anything that we might be able to look down in the summer and be like, yo, we should have saw the writing was on the wall. Cowboys might be out on Dak. Is there anything to the fact that this tweet still is sitting up right now to this very moment?
Did you see what Micah said after the game, Sam?
No. What did Micah say?
Look what Micah said. He kind of took a few shots at the offense. He said the defense. He said that the defense did enough to win, and they were able to
Okay.
contain Debo and CMC, which to his aggression is true. Uh, and I had one of the beat writers that I trust his word. He said that with Micah taking shots and the team taking shots, we could see your locker room split eventually. And the first thing I thought to myself was Russell Wilson in Seattle.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I know. I saw he had a back and forth with Debo on Instagram. Debo was trying to throw shade, and Michael was jumping in the comments. Not seeing anything on the Elon app as of right now. But I'm not surprised he threw shots. Because, I mean, clearly you can't go through what you went through. Because, in essence, like you mentioned, they kept the 49ers relatively in check. Did they stop them? No. But they certainly kept them around. Like, that offense putting up only 19 points, that's a dub. If you have
It
Dak
is
Prescott, you got
touchdown.
CD, you got all those running backs, you got Schultz. That should be enough to get you. I know how good the 49ers defense is, clearly. But with that talent, and again, you're assuming they playing at a high level coming off the destruction of the Buccaneers, that offense should be able to do more than what they did yesterday. So if I'm Michael Parsons and they did their job, they definitely left that stadium feeling we did our job. You have to look at the offense like y'all were killing it last week. Tampa Bay's defense is definitely not in the same stratosphere as the 49ers, but ultimately you got to do better than that, especially on the road, especially when you know you have the talent to back up the words that we heard coming into this week.
Yeah, I think it's just unfortunate. I think the defense definitely. I'm not happy with the defense. I'm not happy with Dan Quinn at his overall job.
You've been killing
Uh,
him all year.
yeah, it's just Sam's. It's the three safeties. It keeps me up at night. And and you know this, you say this on your pod time and time again. Regardless of the X's and O's, football is really simple in January. Run the ball and don't let the other team run the ball. And it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
I think part of the reason the Cowboys, where they are not constructed the proper way, I think part of the reason why we struggle against stopping the run is we have uh, we have five DBs on the field every play, regardless of the situation, and I
Yeah.
don't stand that at all.
You're asking to be run on. And,
You're
and
at
as you mentioned, they don't have the D tackles to help clog up the middle. So even if you have five DBs out there, if you're basically going to run nickel, then okay, then you need to have a stout front four. You got edges all day. You got nothing up the middle.
and you saw what they were doing yesterday. They were literally running halfback dive with like CMC.
Yeah, yeah. And, and that's why bootleg Urlacher had to make all them tackles because they kept running right at him, right up the middle. He had to clog up the lane like he was right there the whole time. It was,
I felt
yeah,
so bad for him because he had a defensive tackle blocking him, and then like the guard was like closing in on him. I'm like, yo, you got
right,
no.
yeah, yeah. Like that's not how that's supposed to go.
And
The
it's
D tackle is
because
supposed to keep bodies off you so you can swoop in the lane and make the tackle. But
And it's funny, Sam, because if you turn it around, look at it the other way. If you look at San Francisco's defense versus Dallas' offensive line, it's like they don't have that problem at all. Like Fred
No,
Warner's not getting touched because
no,
the
he was a
defensive tackles are
beast.
holding everybody up at bay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was amazing yesterday. I think he was
Amazing.
he was the most impactful player on both sides on either side of the ball for the 49ers.
I don't know if you remember this, but did you remember like he timed up the blitz perfectly? And I think he caught Tony in the backfield. I'm like, you can't draw that
Yeah,
up better than
yeah, yeah. I think that was a tackle for loss, right? I think
mine
that was his own.
in 12.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I think we'll move on from the Cowboys, but I definitely wanted to tee you up to let you get your state of the Cowboys address off. Um, Obviously, I think there'll be some changes there. I don't know how much change there can be with that roster, with the cap and everything that's going on there in Dallas, but with the team that beat them, 49ers, clearly they're moving on to the NFC Championship game. The Eagles make quick work of the New York Giants that put them to bed. So now we have the 49ers and the Eagles. Give me a quick recap of what you saw against the Giants and then a little preview of what you think might happen between the Eagles and the 49ers.
Can you pause real quick, Sam?
If you need to get off the screen, let me know, and then
No,
I
I
can just.
Athens.
Oh, okay. So let me. Yeah, go ahead, and I'll just take over and riff till you get back.
All right.
Okay, that is Corey B. Flying. He'll be back with us shortly, but I'll give you my thoughts. So look, the 49ers are going to go into the link and handle the Philadelphia Eagles. Is that a thing that's going to happen? Not if my FanDuel bet has anything to say about it. But what I will focus on is that I think what I saw against the Eagles and the Giants was a team that was outclassed and outmatched and really was a mismatch off rip. It was a mismatch on paper, and it was an even bigger mismatch in reality. Um, there's not much more that you can say about the Giants is that that's a team that had the easiest schedule in the league. That's what a team that looks like, a roster that's bereft of talent, a roster that doesn't have a franchise QB, a roster that has a running back that is up in the air who's been hurt the last 2 years. This is a team that really didn't belong there. The Giants Super Bowl was the probably week before and beating the overrated, equally as fraudulent Minnesota Vikings. So they went and got their medicine, and they took it rather quickly and rather swiftly because the Eagles went up and down the field. That performance from the Eagles is what I've been asking for when we've been doing these live streams here on YouTube. And if you're on the Elon app, this is, again, what I do here is subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're on that YouTube wave, or lock in right here on the Elon app. This is the Eagles team I was looking for. This is the team where, when it comes right down to it, I think they're the most talented in the NFC. I don't know if they'll win the Super Bowl, but I think from the beginning of the year, adding in A.J. Brown, getting Jordan Davis in the draft, even making bigger moves during the season, and fortifying that defensive line with House of Spears and Dominican Sue. I just think that there's no reason why they can't take care of business against the 49ers because, and I'll pull up the stats here, get the screen share popping off. Look at what you have here. You have a quarterback who only threw the ball 24 times, only for 154 yards, but 2 TDs, 2 touchdowns. He didn't even have to run that much, but when he did run, he ran for another touchdown. So 3 touchdowns total for Jalen Hurts. Then you have Gainwell, who bust off some big runs to pad the stats, but you have Miles Sanders for 90 yards, and Boston Scott, who always seems to score a touchdown. Hopefully you did that anytime touchdown bet for Boston Scott, and he able to punch it in with 32 yards, and you didn't even get that much of a crazy game from A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith. It wasn't necessary. You don't need, and you know how I am, I like targets. Devonta Smith getting 10 targets, I mean, that goes to the coverage they were playing, that they were shading a safety over the top on A.J. Brown. But somebody, your number one, has to be able to go get 10 targets, and Devonta Smith was able to do that. A.J. Brown, he's a difference maker. And now you add in Dallas Goedert. I don't know how you stop this. D'Amico Ryans, if he's able to slow this down and stop this, then it will be a travesty of the highest order that he's not an NFL coach next year. If he's able to bottle this up, Jalen Hurts, you can argue if he's still hurt. You can argue how hampered he is. He was able to he definitely showed me enough in the fact that he was able to run the ball when he had to. He was able to be effective in RPOs. He was able to create damage with his legs, which is ultimately the biggest thing of like his dual threatness, right? Because we know he could throw the ball. We know he's a good to maybe great QB, just purely throwing the ball. But when you add in the rushing aspect, that's when everything gets ratcheted up a notch and you become the dynamic weapon that he is. When he can run the ball, you could do an RPO, you could bootleg him, you can do all the stuff you want to do. You could roll him out of the pocket. And he's got Goddard going one way and A.J. Brown going another and Devontae Smith up the seam. And what do you do? What do you do if you're a defense? You can't bracket for all of them. You can't shade a safety for all of them. DeMeco Ryans, what are you going to do? I think that it might be a situation where you might have to blitz to force Jalen Hurts to beat you with his legs. I think that's the only way to really stymie this thing, because I don't think the 49ers secondary is good enough to just say, let's play contain and keep everything in front of us. I think there's too many weapons, especially with Dallas Goedert back, that I don't think that's something you can depend on. I think if I'm DeMeco Ryans, I am blitzing, I am applying pressure, and that clearly they can get home with 4. But again, you're looking at this Eagles offensive line, who is one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line in all of football. So that's going to be a crazy matchup, just seeing how that D-line goes up against that O-line. But I would apply pressure. I would bring some blitz packages and try to force Jalen Hurts to hurt me with his legs. Pause, because I think there's no other way. You can't sit back and just let him dink and dunk his way with Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert up and down the field. I don't like that bend but don't break shit. I'm not a fan of that. So we'll see what DeMeco cooks up. We got Corey back. Corey, let me know if you're ready. You good to pull back up? All right, we got Corey back here. Let's work him back in here. Let's get the splits up first. We'll go splits. All right, Corey is back there. So look, Corey, I've been trying to, figure out a way of what DeMeco Ryans can do against this Philadelphia offense, because clearly with a healthy, relatively healthy Jalen Hurts, along with a healthy Goddard to go with Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, that's asking a lot of a defense that is A1, top tier. But I just don't know if I make you DeMeco Ryans, what are you doing to try to slow down this Eagles attack?
I think Jalen Hurts is still hurt. I think even though they put up 30 versus New York, I think at times he's a little bit ginger. If I'm DeMeco going into the game, my game plan is this. I'm going to double team A.J. Brown, and I'm going to force Devontae Smith to beat me. Fred Warner can follow Goddard, but because I watched the Eagles so much because we're in the same division, they have a tendency to go away from the run if it doesn't work early. They're not a team that's going to stick with the run consistently, especially if it's not working, right? So I'm holding team meetings saying that if we punch this team in the mouth, they're gonna fold early, right? And even in a playoff game, you would want a quarterback who has a shoulder problem. You would want him in a situation where he have to beat you with his arm. And I think that would be. We're going to shade A.J. Brown. We're going to force Devontae Smith to beat us. I'd ISO Fred Warner on Dallas Goedert. And obviously, I'm going to make sure that Bosa is on Lane Johnson, who's hurt. And we visibly saw him limping on the field last week.
Yeah, he was.
I think, And in Greenlaw, he's been amazing in the run. I think he'll continue to do that. That's my game plan. I don't know if that's going to be enough, Sam. I don't know if that's going to be enough, but that's just my game plan.
Yeah, because that's the thing with this offense. It's like I can't put a better fit for this offense of what they needed. I can't do anything better than A.J. Brown. The fact that they were able to get a bona fide number one receiver to put alongside Devonta Smith, to go alongside Goddard, to go alongside Miles Sanders, Gainwell, Boston Scott, and then I got a dynamic QB, a dual threat QB to go along with a dominant offensive line. Like, bruh, what? Like, I, D'Amico Ryan certainly is A1. He's top tier. He should be a head coach in this league next season. But if he can scheme up something, salute, bro, because I don't know. I don't know. And to your point, if Jalen's still hurt, isn't that more emphasis? Isn't that even more reason to try to blitz and apply pressure? Because, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but
AJ Brown's not a burner, right? So, but the Devonta is. So you might get burnt on a sluggo or a go or a 9 or whatever by Devonta, but I don't know. I think I would roll the dice more and apply that pressure, and they did do that yesterday pretty effectively.
yeah, I mean, as you know, like you said earlier, as a Cowboys fan, you have to pay close attention. You have to pay close attention to the Eagles, who are they're like the brother that does everything right. They got good grades all the time. They go to college. They left to get the good job, whereas the Cowboys are not. Like, if you look at this, Sam, last year the Eagles were having a wide receiver problem. What do? They go trade for AJ Brown, right? If you look at in season, when they lost to the Commanders, they ran the ball for like almost 200 yards, something like that. What do the next day? They go get Joseph and Sue, and it's
Yep.
just like. But then if you look at the Cowboys, they're kind of like, well, we know we can't stop the run, but we'll figure it out eventually, right?
Yeah.
And I think that if there's any team
Go get Robert
that can,
Quinn.
yeah, exactly. If there's any team that can expose the 49ers secondary with the amount of pressure that they do get on the quarterback, is Philly.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And
Just watching that game yesterday, Sam, the thing that I noticed about them, they're fast. They are,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like that was like the best offense for them to play with Dallas, who doesn't really have much to any speed.
right, right.
We had to go get T.Y. Hilton, who's 34, off the couch.
Ty. Yo, low key, I think I should have threw him the rock more. Like Ty seemed to be the only. I mean, CD was alright, but he's definitely better than Gallup. Like I'm surprised. He should be getting the routes Gallup was getting,
And it's just like Sam, it's just like
and he still
when
got
you're
wheels.
yeah, but when you're playing an offense that's literally not known for their speed, it's a recipe for disaster. And they're sitting on our routes. They're not letting us run. Dak obviously didn't play his best game, but he's playing with his hand, with one hand behind his back because it's not like you're worried about the run.
Yeah, it's certainly a thing to. I think with the speed that the 49ers have, it kind of meshes with the blend of strength and speed that the Eagles possess. And I think as much as people want to talk about the AFC championship game, and we'll get there in a second here, but I think this game is really the one. Like I think whoever comes out of this game, one will be hurting for sure this time next week because it's going to be a physical game regardless.
Very
But I think they'll be in a better position to potentially take out whoever comes out the AFC because I think the blueprint has been established where if you can rush the quarterback, especially if you could get home with 4, and we've seen that now lately with the Eagles, because I was clamoring for Hassan Riddick, to show me something, and over the last couple of weeks, from the last game of the regular season and definitely on Saturday night against the Giants, he has shown me something. And if he could be that, if he could stay at that peak, at that level, and apply that pressure off the edge, knowing what they got in the middle, I mean, you could bring in Burrow, you could bring in Mahomes on a bum ankle. Okay, we getting home with 4. We're getting edge pressure. We're getting pressure up the middle. Where you going? It's all good, Joe Cool and all of that with Burrow. You can smoke the cigars. You can smoke. Where you going?
It's funny because to me, Sam, I think if the Bengals go to the Super Bowl, the worst matchup for them is Philly because Philly has the DBs to match up with those wide receivers on the outside.
That
That's
part
like,
too. Yeah.
and they're better, and Philly is better than Cincinnati in the trenches.
Well,
And it's like,
You think Slay could stay with Chase?
Yeah, I'm not asking you to lock him down, but if you can slow him down, absolutely.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, I think
Interesting.
I'm not Sam. There's so many things. There's so many wrinkles an offensive coordinator could do with a wide receiver. Did you watch the AFC divisional round?
For sure. We will
They
get
were
into that right now.
still pre-snap.
Yeah.
You saw
Uh,
why you do that though, because you can't follow him. That's why.
yeah.
Put
Yeah.
him in the backfield, make him look like a running back. All right, you got your best corner out there. All right, Slay, go over here. And
Right.
that is how he got wide open on the first touchdown because he started off in the backfield. And that is what I'm looking for in Dallas. I want an offensive mind that can create a mismatch because it's just like, all right, CD, you go out here. Michael Gallup, you go out there. But
Right.
uh, but I think Philly has the tools to match up with them.
All right. So let's slide over to the AFC.
Mhm.
Um, I absolutely loved what the Bengals did to your man's Josh Allen. They gave him
Yeah, but
different looks pre-snap. They bluffed some pressures. They fell back in coverages. They were coming from different angles. Your man's bum elbow, so fine. We'll give him that little grace. He can fall on that caveat, but he led the league in turnovers, not just interceptions, because sometimes interceptions are not always on the QB, but led the league in turnovers. We saw Diggs yelling at him and the coach on the sideline. Talk me through what you saw with the Bengals and Buffalo. And was this an upset? Clearly, the bettors thought so, but
yeah, pull it up, Sam, the stats for that game.
sure. Say less.
What I saw was what me and you always preach. That finesse stuff doesn't just work around this time of year. And I feel like with the Bengals and uh, the Bills and the snow, the Bills were just never able to run the ball. I mean, Josh Allen was the leading rusher.
Right.
It's not. It's
8
not.
rushes.
Yeah, and how many yards did the Bengals rush for, Sam?
Quick math on top of my head. That looks like to be at least a buck 60, a buck 70.
Come on, like they were
Yeah.
controlling the whole game. It seemed
Yeah.
like, regardless of what Burrow was doing, of course, he was chopping him up with his arm, but come on, it's just like, I
There's,
feel
I
like,
mean, if you look here at the screen, there's the balance you always talk about because they had 36 pass attempts and they had, off the top of my head, 34 rushing attempts.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah,
Balance.
they're all cylinders, and then if you look at the Buffalo, they were just never able to find that.
42 pass attempts and they had 19 rushes. And
Exactly,
that's
yeah,
including the 8 by Josh Allen.
yeah, which is, and a lot of those are probably off script.
Correct.
So they, I just think that, and I've been hinting to this all year. It seems like the Bills are always looking to find balance, but they just never did. And around this time of year, that typically gets exposed. And if they don't get some bullies up front, they're always going to get let down around this time of year.
Yeah, this game to me was so great because you can see the game within the game. Clearly, we know how dangerous of a weapon Josh Allen is. My thing with him is you just have to bait him into the mistake. He's going to make the mistake, whether it's a pick, whether it's a fumble. He led the league in turnovers. I think he's had, over the last 2 seasons, eight fumbles against the Miami Dolphins alone. He just finds a way to just cough the rock up. And if you just lay in wait, I'm not saying play soft coverage, but the way that they were able to mix in man, mix in some zone, mix in some, I won't even say zone blitzing, but they were bringing the safety off the edge, disguising the blitzes really well. I just love that type of defensive game plan from the Bengals because you can't just sit back and let him dice you up. You also can't sit back and blitz him to death because he does have Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, and when he's right, Isaiah McKenzie, or they had to dust off Cole Beasley. But it's the unvaxxed Cole Beasley, still unvaxxed. Him and Amari Cooper should. All right. But when it comes right down to this, I know what the Bengals are. When the Bengals run the ball, they're a difference maker because you do have all them weapons at receiver. You do have a Jamar Chase. You do have a Tyler Boyd. You do have a T. Higgins. Those three, and now they found something in Hayden Hurst. I don't know how good he is, but in this offense, he looks pretty good. But in
Well, yeah,
regards to
he's the odd man out when you got three wide receivers who are really
right,
good. You don't even know where the ball's going, you know,
exactly. He's been he's been relegated to a red zone threat. Um,
and he's flourishing, it seems.
yes, and I think if you're going to tell me you're going to get 27 carries and a buck 40 from Mixon and Pirine, that's going to keep Pat Mahomes off the field, whether his ankle is good to go or not. So I don't know how this looks on Sunday, but if I'm the Chiefs, I don't know who they can sign, but that D line is about to get trucked if that offensive line for Cincy plays like how they did against Buffalo. Because the Buffalo D line, even without Von Miller, is way better than what Kansas City is going to be bringing in. Even though they have Chris Jones, who's a monster.
Yeah,
I,
the
I
Bengals two starters out on the offensive line.
correct, and they were still able to truck Buffalo, truck them.
Crazy. You had two linemen out, and you still let them run for a buck 60.
Yeah, it's wild. It's
That's
wild.
crazy.
It's wild. And you know, I would like to focus on this Bills offense because a lot's been made of what Josh Allen could do. You know how I am here. If your number one receiver gets 10 targets, you should be in a good spot, right? So Stephon Diggs did get 10 targets, but a lot of that was in the first half. So the second half, and then that's where you saw it started to see him chirp a little bit about how open he was, and they did show some of the if you caught the all 22 or even some of the extended highlight packages, there was some plays where he was open and Josh just didn't see him. And I know that's frustrating. You can speak to that as a former receiver. Sometimes it's frustrating when you know you're open. Sometimes if you're good enough, you think you're always open. But sometimes when you're legitimately open and you're not getting the targets, that's when it becomes, you're really going to keep throwing to your man's Khalil Shakur. You're really going to keep throwing to Cole Beasley just because he's the check down. You're going to keep throwing to Gabe Davis. Like, Devin Singletary had 8 targets. I'll run that back for you. Devin Singletary had 8 targets. Why? It's not because the Bengals were just given that. It's because for some reason Josh Allen didn't want to force feed Stephon Diggs. And in a game like that where you had to have it, you need to rely on your top tier players. I didn't see anything special coverage wise that they were doing on Stephon Diggs. He wasn't one-on-one all game, but I'm just saying sometimes you got to force it to your guy and have him make a play. I didn't see that happening too much with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. How about you?
Yeah, but I think in a team, Sam, this is a wide receiver predicated team. It's an air raid, not in the philosophy, but just the way they play. They want to throw to their
Mm-hmm.
receivers. Sam, it was snowing. It's January in Buffalo.
Dog, you had Eli Apple guarding Stephon Diggs. I don't care about no snow. You had Eli Apple guarding Stephon Diggs. I don't care if it's a tornado. I'm still throwing the rock to Diggs when he's being guarded by Eli Apple. You cannot have Eli Apple out here. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know if they might shut down the stream if I play this clip. But him wilding out on the sideline, like dogs, you never want to be in a position where you're allowing Eli Apple to celebrate on your turf. You never
No,
want that to happen, dogs.
but I think it's unfortunate. But I think overall the better team won. I mean, I think this is what I think the league wanted
Look at your
the
man's Eli, son. Look at your man's Eli.
South
Come
Jersey
on,
product right
man.
there.
I mean, facts, but I mean, come on, dog. You can't have him doing that to you at the crib. At your crib, whatever. Sorry. Good. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. How do you feel about the league selling tickets to the Buffalo Kansas City game in Atlanta?
Hey, I mean, look, the league ain't stupid. It was ratings. It was a ratings monster. As someone who used to work for that network, that was a ratings monster, and they wanted to run that back because they knew what the ratings were going to be, especially if it was going to be at a neutral site game to add even more of a storyline and headline on top of it. So, I mean, as Joe Burrow said, I hope they get them refunds out. But no, I'm not. That's what the league does. The league knows or plays favorites just like anybody else. So it was nothing that was surprising to me.
I thought that was a bad L for Buffalo because the league wanted them to win. Like they wanted that matchup, and it's
Yeah.
just like without making it too blatant. I'm pretty sure they probably like giving them some generous calls. Like, we're trying to help y'all out here.
Bro, yo, people are surprised when stuff like that gets unearthed years later, but that commonly happens where you get a favorable whistle because everyone is on the same page. Like, yo, Buffalo, Kansas City, we need to run that. All right, okay. Maybe that wasn't holding. Maybe that was just a real good block. Maybe that wasn't. Maybe he wasn't in the neutral zone. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's not a dead ball foul. Like, so, maybe he'll get an extra free play or two or three. That's
Yeah,
that's real. That happens.
yeah, and it's just like I I, I thought Buffalo was gonna win, but
It was rough. It was rough. It was a rough game for them. And I think, look, Ken Dorsey, uh, he didn't catch a lot of smoke during the season because Josh Allen was doing Josh Allen things. But I mean, it's time to bring that under the microscope. Josh Allen has never been better at protecting the ball, and even that's sketchy. But in terms of this year compared to last year when he had Debo or whatever, Dembro, it's a clear like regression. He looked like Josh Allen from 2-3 years ago.
Sam,
And
I
that's
think
not the Josh Allen that they were expecting. So is it scheme? Is it just not having Dembo in his ear anymore?
no, I don't think it's
What do you
scheme. I just
think?
think they throw the ball too much. But you have to do that when you can't literally just line up and run the ball on people. Like
Okay,
they're
but is that philosophy or is that trying to keep building this hype of what Josh Allen's supposed to be?
I think it's just ability. I think that as much as I do, I love it when a finesse team gets punched in the mouth. And
Mm-hmm.
they're a finesse team. Like, all right, Sam, if I told you that they were gonna line up and run the ball with Singletary consistently, you wouldn't think that they would be productive. They haven't shown the complexity to do that ever.
Right.
And it's just like if you
So
turn that around and then you look at Brock Purdy handing the ball off to CMC or Debo, they're very productive at that. And that is the winning formula around this time of year. And it's just like Buffalo is going to consistently lose around this time of year because they can't just line up and run the ball. They have to get super cute and try to finesse their way into like having Josh on a QB draw or a QB dive. That's not winning football. I'm sorry.
well, here's the funny thing, and this is why sometimes the stats do lie. I'll pull up the screen here because this could be a thing where maybe add here, guys, screen share, boom. So this is this year, 2022. They were, as an offense, 15th in attempts, 7th in yards, 15th in rushing touchdowns, 2nd in yards per average. Let's go to last year. Last year, with Dayball, 13th in attempts, 6th in yards, 7th in touchdowns. So they had more touchdowns, more rushing touchdowns, and
Mm-hmm.
6th in yards per average. So in theory, the numbers weren't that different, but clearly there was a marked difference in
Clearly.
philosophy. So that's where numbers can lie. But to your point, if they're going to make this all about what Josh Allen can do with his arm, and they're going to, basically trick off the run game and act like it doesn't exist, don't they need more receivers than what they got?
No, I
If
think they're
if
fine.
if you're going to do that, Gabe Davis can't be your number two. I'm sorry.
I think they're fine at receiver and tight end. I think they're good. I just think that they
I like
need.
Knox at tight end. I'm saying at that number two slot because we know Diggs is not a burner. Gabe Davis has more speed, and he definitely flashed last year. I just don't know if he's a reliable number two.
I
I
think the
think
pro-
that should be a priority in the offseason.
I think the priority in the offseason needs on the offensive side of the ball needs to be getting a running back and getting better in the interior offensive line.
Do you believe in the Josh Jacobs, Kareem Hunt rumors for Buffalo?
What what no, Josh Jacobs, no. I don't think Buffalo would pay Josh Jacobs. I don't believe in paying running backs at all. But if you're gonna pay a running back, um, I don't even know if I would pay Kareem either. He's a little I think he's a little bit older.
Damaged
Um,
goods, you could get them for the cheap. We know
if
you
you,
can
if you're gonna
catch the rock.
I go get Kareem if you can get it for cheap. Josh Jacobs gonna be too. He's gonna be too expensive because this is his first like this might be his last contract.
If you could get a Josh Jacobs, I would go into cap hell to go get him if I'm Buffalo.
If you're in a win now mode, go get him.
Why wouldn't they be in a win now mode? I think the window is now because Diggs ain't young. Von Miller, if he can bounce back from the injury, he damn sure ain't young.
Yeah,
the core of this team is not young.
Okay, then do that. Then pay.
I think you have to. I think the value of Josh Allen's his peak, and again, I'm not trying to shit on his career or his career trajectory, but right now is the window if they're going to get a Super Bowl with him. With this current group, maybe you retool years down the road or whatever when he's a little older. But as of right now, if you're trying to maximize him, I think you have to go right now. So yeah, I would go into salary cap hell if Josh Jacobs is willing to come. Even if I got to backload that contract, you know how it's the NFL. They can get funny with the money. They can do whatever they want. They can incentive base that to death. They could give him a Saquon type deal. They can go out there and really make him trick the back. Because like you said, no one's really paying for running backs. It's not like running backs are getting quarterback money. So even though he could get a lot of money, it still won't be money, like big money in the grand scheme.
Yeah. How do you feel about Saquon and his contract situation?
Well, he's already kind of cop pleased. Like he's willing to take the discount.
Yeah, but they just said that he turned down $12 million a year.
I don't know if he's going to get 12 now.
Well, he just declined that.
Oh, I thought that was during the season. They just offered that to him?
No, they offered that to him during the season.
Got you. Yeah. So like if I think he played well enough. Let me pull up the tweet here. It's a good tweet here with some of the information on it. Screen share. So they're both pending free agents. According to Albert Breer, it'll be a surprise if the team would franchise tag either one of them. Jones' tag number will be around $33 million, and Barkley's will be around $10 million. So if the franchise tag is $10 million and you turn down 12, you're already eating $2 million if you get franchised, even though they would say it will be a surprise if either one of them would get the tag. He's already admitted he's been hurt the last 2 years. So I don't know if he's even expecting to get $10 million. Because Barkley recently told me that he's not looking to, quote, reset the market, but the report claims Barkley is looking for Christian McCaffrey type money. $16 million a year? You turn down 12, franchise tag is 10. You want 16? He think he McCaffrey? He's got the same skill set, but is he McCaffrey though?
I think I've said this to you before. McCaffrey's the best running back in the league.
Okay.
I'm saying he's the best.
Explain to the people. Go ahead.
All right. If you want to look at like past running backs like Josh Jacobs, like if you look at Josh Jacobs, right? I know where Josh Jacobs is running. I know where Josh Jacobs is lining up every play.
Right.
CMC is a mismatch matchup because, and as you saw yesterday, you can literally put him at wide receiver if he can create separation on your corner, and then you can put him in the he's a defensive coordinator's nightmare because you don't know where he's gonna line up. Christian McCaffrey can break every rule in almost every defense. I believe it.
And he does people. He does believe that he's a big C-Mac guy. I'm going to reserve judgment. I think he's certainly the most dynamic running back. He's the most dangerous running back, best running back. I can nitpick some things, but that'll be another stream for another day. But no, he's okay. He ain't no lower than 3. Like if you could probably try and name 2. You could try. Like some people really feel Derrick Henry is still him. He's not dynamic enough to me. But I'm just giving you the people the ones that I always get thrown at. You get your Derrick Henry. Josh Jacobs is now entering that conversation. He's not there though. Nick Chubb is a guy that's always thrown out there. So there's guys that can vibe, but none of them have the dynamic playmaking ability. Saquon, if he was ever healthy, could be in that conversation for most talented or most dynamic running back. That's why they took him so damn high.
Yeah, you had to.
Interesting. So that'll be a fun watch. So the Bills are trying to figure out what to do. But we're talking about the Bengals. We got the Bengals here. The Bengals are going to go into Arrowhead and take care of the Chiefs. The Chiefs, look, they beat up on the Jags. I don't think there's too much to break down from that game besides the fact that Mahomes got hurt and Chad Henne went on a 98-yard drive to save their season, essentially. And then Mahomes came back in there and did Mahomes things. I think Pacheco was great. Shout out to Rutgers on the ground. And again, if you look at the stats here, 23 rushing attempts, but they were able to go for $120.
Have
So
you seen the
23 rushing attempts, $120. Go ahead.
Pacheco comparison?
Who are they reaching and saying he is?
Rest in peace, Marion Barber.
Huh? Is it because of the dreads?
They said that that's the
Is that what
comparison
he's not
because
that bruising. He's bruising for a guy his size.
they said that that's the comparison because of how hard
That's
he ran.
sick. That is a sick comparison. Look, I understand that people can get gassed. I mean, he's 5'10". How tall was Barber? I can't
I
believe
think
we're
Barber.
going to go down.
No, I think Barber's 5'11".
It's 5'11".
Mm-hmm.
Former Bear great Marion Barber, who did not go down on the sideline to run out the clock against the Broncos when the Bears had a chance to clinch a game. Let's see, 5'11", 218. Pacheco just doesn't come across as look, he's definitely strong, right? He's definitely strong, but I think it's more of he doesn't look like he's that strong. So when a guy that doesn't look the part is stronger than he looks, that's the part that surprises people. But you think next year he's going to sneak up on dudes and be trucking them? I think people are going to come prepared for Pacheco next year. Whereas Marion Barber, it didn't matter if you prepared or not. You were getting trucked. It didn't matter. Safety is coming down the hole. You still getting trucked. It doesn't matter. Pacheco, I don't know if he's sneaking up on dudes next year.
I think I like him. I mean, I think he was
I
like a
like him
six.
too. I don't know if he's a lead back. He's not a lead back.
Yeah, I like him though. I don't know if it'll be enough on Sunday though, Sam.
Well, I'll speed this up here. So clearly, look, the Chiefs took care of business. The Jaguars, they probably should not have been there with the way that they looked the week before in Super Wild Card Weekend. But Mahomes and the ankle, that's going to be the storyline. Kelsey was Kelsey, 17 targets, which is an insane amount of targets. So 17 targets and 14 receptions for Travis Kelsey. Give me your quick synopsis. Mahomes and the ankle, how will it affect him? If you are the Bengals, do you cook up the same type of scheme you cooked up for Josh Allen where you're blitzing from all different types of places? What are you doing about Mahomes?
You run the same scheme. Part of what makes Mahomes great is his ability to extend plays. And I think that now with a high ankle sprain, where he's like his ability to extend plays is going to be extremely limited. I'm going heavy on the Bengals.
Yeah. I mean, there's certainly a lot to that. If my only question is, if Mahomes is if he's healthier than we're assuming, you bring that type of pressure, Kelsey's going to eat. All these guys are going to eat. Even Juju can eat. Like dudes who we know aren't that nice can eat. McKinnon, who I think is a factor in not only just the running game, but in the pass game, not so much against the Jags, but over the second half of the season, he's been destroying teams, getting into the end zone especially. Yeah, so, I mean, and he's great in pass blocking. They isolated that over the weekend. I didn't realize he was that dominant in pass blocking. So he's very important to Mahomes, and he'll be super important if the high ankle sprain is what we think it is. I still want to favor the Chiefs for some reason. I don't know if it's just Mahomes. I don't know if it's just I'm just rolling with Mahomes. But as great as the Bengals look, I think the Bengals Super Bowl potentially was yesterday. Underdogs. No one believes in us. They're selling tickets to Bills Chiefs, overlooking us. Rah, rah, rah. Now, though, they're a favorite. Now, it's predicated off Mahomes' injury, but they are a favorite in this game, so they can't play that hard luck story now.
in the Bengals game
What would
last.
be the motivation?
I mean, I don't know because the Bengals won this game last year. This was the same game
Facts.
last
Yeah, they beat them 3 straight times, going for a fourth straight time beating the Chiefs. So if anything, all the energy should be at the Chiefs. Underdog, Mahomes bum ankle, counting us out. Even if it was the Bills, they probably would have still favored the Bills over the Chiefs. Now we're the underdog to even the Bengals. Like all the motivational storylines are in the Chiefs' direction.
I don't know. I mean, it's just something we're gonna have to wait for. It's for Sunday at 3 o'clock. I don't know what we're getting because
Got you.
he was limping pretty strong, Sam. Like,
Were you surprised they even put him back in the game? I thought Henny could
yeah,
have took that home.
I think he
It
could
was the
have.
Jaguars. I think Henny could have took that home.
I don't think the Jaguars were going to score enough points to win that game. To be honest with you,
Yeah. So I
but
was a little surprised.
that's not an indictment against Pat Mahomes because like he is that good and he is a difference maker on that offense.
Right.
But yeah, we just gonna have to see. Like, I don't know.
Got you. Well, there's one quick storyline I'll give you on the way out. It has nothing to do with these games. It is someone that we're trying to figure out in your division. Will you have a new owner in the division that you covet? Let me bring this up here.
Hove coming to Washington.
I mean, capitalist Hove, he's already trying to figure it out with Bezos. Jeff Bezos will sell Washington Post to buy Commanders, investors say. And if you're not hip, Hove has been linked allegedly to Jeff Bezos. He's trying to slide his way in to finally cash in on selling out Kaepernick and the entire culture all those years ago. Now is his chance, allegedly, to get into the game. If the Commanders have a legitimate owner, and we're making a big assumption because we don't know what Bezos would be, but assuming it's just not Daniel Snyder, as a guy that is a fan of a team in the same division as the Commanders, would you then take the Commanders as a serious player in that division? Because right now it's just the 3 teams that we always are, worried about. But now, no?
No. What's he gonna do? What's he gonna do differently? Make them work 12 hours a day? Take away the bathroom breaks? Like, I don't care if I was gonna work.
Wow, damn, shots fired. Hey, shout out to Amazon Prime, though. We get the same day delivery. I mean, it's only one way to get it. But nah, I feel you. I understand. But I do think there is something to where Daniel Snyder is so bad at his job. He's been so toxic. He has created a horrific workplace, toxic workplace environment. A lot of women do not want to work in that organization. My former job, I used to have to go there routinely. It is a dump. He bought $100 million worth of land in Arlington. He's trying to trick it off. It's a lot there, but Bezos allegedly is willing to sell the Washington Post to get in on the Washington Commanders. And this is a big money play because Bezos, sure, go.
How do you feel about? All right, it's a 2-part question. What was your opinion on him buying the Thursday night football and the quality of those games? And what do you think changes about like the work quality? And do you think he makes upgrades to the facilities if he were to buy the team?
I'll start with the second part. He has no choice because, and I was kind of insinuating, he bought the Washington Post just so he can air out Daniel Snyder and how horrible he's been as an owner. So, like, if you're going to air out all the tea, if you're going to air out how bad the franchise has been, if you're going to air out how the workplace, environment is toxic and is horrific and women are running away from that organization, then if you come in, you have to be the antithesis of that. So you're going to have to make everything top notch. You're going to have to do what Mark Cuban did in Dallas when he first got there. And we know how Mark Cuban is now, a little shaky. That's another stream for another day. But when Cuban first got there, he upgraded everything. Ballmer in LA, upgrade everything. We want our own arena. We don't want to share nothing with the Lakers no more. You have to come in and change the culture. When you're coming from something that's toxic, like Donald Sterling with the Clippers, and like just the Mavericks ownership group before that, which was just null and void, irrelevant, you have to go through everything and change the culture. So I think he'll do that. In terms of buying into the Amazon package on the Thursday night games, I'll just say this. The league tried to do what they could to make sure that their new business partner got something out of that deal. Now, once Bezos officially buys in, because he had to step down as CEO a couple of years ago to make all this work. Once he becomes an owner, are they still as inclined to satisfy that agreement? Because to at Bezos, once he if this is true and he does buy in, he's won. Game's over. I reached the end of the game. I used Amazon to buy into the NFL to get that Thursday night package so I could get into those rooms, get in there with Raj, get in there with Jerry, get in there with Kraft, all those guys, and start to be in those rooms. Now, once they realize I'm a viable part of this product and expanding the game into streaming, now I can flip it. Now I want to be in. I want to be one of the 32. You got a toxic owner over there. Who's got more bread than me? I'll even go get your lackey Hove. He can be a part of my group. We can really make this a win-win. We can do all of this. We can. So I think the quality of the games could fall back because once Bezos buys in, there's no reason for the NFL to keep acquiescing to Amazon. What do you think?
Do you think that the other one, other 31 owners give him the go ahead?
Well, if you let Jim Irsay sell it, anyone other than Daniel Snyder is down. Like he claimed they already had the 24 votes. So I think yeah, it's a layup for whoever buys Washington. It's going to be a layup because Irsay, even though he acted on his own and he went rogue in airing out some of the dirty laundry amongst the owners, I think whoever decides to step up. And that's why I was surprised with the whole Denver thing, why they didn't try to make that the minority hire, because now in Washington, it's been so clear that was laid out for Bezos that the only way for the NFL to actually have a minority owner would have been easier if it was the Brian Allen group that got rebuffed in Denver before the Walmart people, the Walter family came in and just blew everybody out the water. So, I think it's a layup for whoever has the bread because Daniel Snyder has worn out his welcome. He threatened to air some stuff out, then magically all of his tea started coming out. So it's billionaire on billionaire stuff, and I'll ride with 31 billionaires versus 1 billionaire.
Cool. I'm with you.
Cool. Well, I want to thank Corey from the Not That Serious podcast at Corey B _ flying on the Elon app, which hopefully you're watching on right now. Give me some feedback. This is the first time doing it on 2 platforms. To the YouTube audience, y'all know who y'all are. I'm always here. But to the Elon app people, I don't know how long I'll be on this Elon app as he keeps taking away stuff and charging us for everything. And I'm seeing ads every other tweet. I don't know how long I'll be here. But for right now, just testing this out. So I want to thank my guest, Corey. Thank you, as always, sir, for pulling up and helping me talk some football, man.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
So that was Corey of the Not That Serious podcast. Support him on social and everything else. Let me pull this up here. Nope, we don't want that either. We want this one. Cool. So I am the Sam D, Sam Duzme Jr. Lot going on tonight. Just wanted to jump on and make sure I recap these games because it's something that I've gotten used to doing on YouTube. Wanted to experiment putting it here on Twitter as well. All feedback is appreciated, good, bad, or indifferent. I will be doing this again after the games on Sunday night. It'll be a late one, so stay up past the which game is first? Is it the NFC or the AFC? Let's see. Who's the primetime game? Hopefully it's the AFC. Because that'll be the one that gets everybody juiced up. You would think the NFL's own website would be a little bit easier to navigate to find out information like that. All right, let me go to the 4-letter network. But anyway, whoever the late game is, I will be here after that. And it'll be the same platform, the same layout, same setup. Maybe I'll have a guest. Maybe I won't. Not sure yet. But this is what I like to do here. I like to recap these games, like to chop it up, like to show you what I'm looking at here on the screen. I like to, interact with you in the comments. Okay, the AFC game is the late game, 6:30, San Francisco at Philly, 3 p.m. Okay, thank you for letting network. All right. That will do it for Football Kickback. This has been the divisional round recap of the Football Kickback. I am Sam Disney Jr., aka at the Sam D, on the Elon app on YouTube. I will holla at y'all next Sunday after Bengals and the Chiefs. Appreciate you.